Hello, everyone. My name is Aldrich Tan, and I'm a special education teacher. And this is my presentation on the digital IEP collaboration with the Google Docs. In other words, how to be in 28 classes at once. I like that. So, who am I, first of all? Well, my name is Aldrich, and I am a resource specialist at McAuliffe Elementary School for the Alvord Unified School District. So, what that really means is I have a caseload of at least 28 to 30 students in grades kindergarten and fifth grade who spend most of their time in, yes, over 15 general education classrooms all over the school. And I have no cloning machine. So, first of all, I want to explain the idea of collaboration. Collaboration, according to Webster's dictionary, is the act of working together with someone to produce or create something. In this case, teachers working together to help develop a student's IEP goals and meet their needs, etc., etc. The act of virtual collaboration is collaborating with virtual team members through technology-mediated communication. In other words, using Google Docs to help you out with that. And in this case, I want to explain why I started doing this as part of my experience as a resource teacher for at least 5 years. In the ideal world of special ed co-teaching, the resource teacher would be working directly with the general education teacher to help develop and meet the needs of the students. And this is a very cute YouTube video that's all about the ideal co-teaching experience. And I will have the link actually in the presentation itself and also on the HyperDoc page itself. But, here's the thing. This is not the reality because in this case, it's two teachers working together and, you'd ideally have one special ed teacher, one gen ed teacher. But the reality is as resource specialists, we have kids in many different classrooms. Second of all, gen ed teachers themselves, they're really busy thinking about a lot of things. So as you can see, there's a lot of things that they've got to worry about as well, whether it's PLC time, teaching the kids themselves, dealing with discipline, valuations, parent-teacher conferences, making lesson plans, having a substitute teacher, English language learners, the principals meeting and the testing, and oh my God. So of course, the last thing they're thinking about is your kids. And because of that, the last person they want to see is you. And, what I've learned is from my personal experiences, teachers, because they are so focused on taking care of the kids in their own class, can get very, territorial. And various teachers have various personalities. Some teachers will be more willing to collaborate with you. Some teachers you just need to build trust with. And some teachers, they just want you to leave them alone because ain't nobody got time for that random second teacher or second paraeducator popping into your classroom and trying to run your classroom for you. Also, papers. I personally, as a special ed teacher, hate papers. And IEPs have so many documentations. And no one really, except you, because it's your job, of course, has time to read and develop all of those documents. So we just want to make it really simple. And that's why when I started doing this, it really helped me out and helped me be more organized because Google Docs are a lot easier to keep than, papers that are easy to get lost. And of course, we're talking about this time of COVID-19, where everybody is working at home, including your gen ed teachers themselves. And they're doing theirs, and they're still also prioritizing their kids too. But now it's Zoom classes and Google Classrooms and HyperDocs. And don't forget that Zoom meeting with the principal. And don't forget that Zoom meeting with your PLC. And even if you are in that same Zoom meeting with your gen ed teachers, with the principal, they're not, the last thing they're worried about is talking to you privately about how little Johnny or little Jose is doing. So we're all working from home. And with that, this is a great opportunity for you guys to also rearrange and reorganize your IEPs themselves. So I'm going to show you how to do that with the help of Google Docs. And let me just say, I'm not reinventing the wheel. It is true that SACE does provide an IEP at a glance that is supposedly really easy to print out. But as you notice and you look at the page itself, it's so wordy. Once again, it's just like looking at a mini version of the IEP, and as great as SACE is, this is sometimes a little too much for a gen ed teacher when all they just want is the most simple information about your kids. And speaking of that, that's why it's important to do this kind of document, because we want to think about, what do we really want our teachers to know about our kids? What are the most important things we want you to know about our what do we want them to know the most about the IEP? The answer is not hand them the entire IEP. But what are the most important parts of the IEP that we need the gen ed teachers to know about in less than 5 seconds? And you can pause the video and think about that. And then replay it when you think you have the answers. Okay, so what are the most important things? And of course, it's debatable and you can argue about this. The most important things that teachers really want to know are their eligibility, their goals, their services, maybe a behavior support plan, and what are the deadlines of those IEP meetings. But that's the key, is to keep it really, really simple. Notice I haven't included the present levels page. That's going to be part of my advanced version of the slides, because I just want to keep it really, really simple for these teachers. In fact, these teachers are probably already have enough data from the kids on how these kids are. So to make your own HyperDoc, woohoo, we finally got to it. The first step is to open Google Docs. And you can go to docs.google.com, or you can open the Google Drive at drive.google.com and create a new document. And under the word file, select page setup and select landscape. Trust me, you're gonna want landscape, because what you're gonna do is you're gonna also insert a table and makes a 6x2 table. So 6 rows and 2 columns. That's important because you're gonna be putting in a lot of information to help your teachers out. So the basic share sheet data, and this is like an example of what I've personally made and what personally works well, and what also is being recommended by Marilyn Friend, the team of the goddess of co-teaching. You need the name of the kid. You need to know their student ID number, stuff like that. Eligibility, their accommodations, modifications for their curriculum, their goals, their services, and their meeting deadlines. So ideally, eventually you will create one doc per gen ed teacher. And the most important thing, and I just emphasize, is don't use Google Sheets. I love Google Sheets for data collection, but it's not great for the share sheet data because the boxes are way too small. And if your principal wants that later on, then make one separately for him. But really, I've just learned from my personal, testing this stuff, that Google Docs just seems to work the best. So here's an example of a basic share sheet data. Of course, you got the name of the kid, you got the picture, it's Bart Simpson, his student ID number. You also have his eligibility. And when you think about this, keep it simple, silly. You don't need all of the wording of the IEP. We as teachers have been trained to simplify things to kids. So we should be simplifying things to gen ed teachers. If they want to know more, they're gonna ask for more. They might ask for the whole IEP, but most of the time they don't got time for that. So keep it simple for them. So as you can see, I also have the accommodations this kid has, such as the fidgets tool and separate setting and repeat directions. These can be found off of your services page. The goals also, once again, keep it simple. You don't need to copy and paste the entire goal. Just keep it to the basics. So in this case, write a 4 to 5 sentence paragraph and solve one-step algebra. Make it really easy. It's something easy for the gen ed teacher to understand. And of course, notice I don't have the they have some of the measurements, but works. Services, you include the fact of their SII, they have 40 minutes of 5 sessions this kid does, and he's got ERMs because, it's Bart Simpson, 30 minutes weekly. So now your teacher knows that, yes, he sees you once a week and he sees the counselor once a week. He sees you 5 times a week and he sees the counselor once a week. And most importantly, meeting deadlines. This is the thing that the gen ed teachers really want to know is when are those meetings due? When do we need to have those meetings? And sometimes I put little information about the parents and how to reach the parents. And there's a reason why in this next slide. So to simplify the IEPs, the most important thing you have to do, and that's your job, is to read your IEPs. You've got to read them and you've got to understand them. And most importantly, how to simplify the language so that your gen ed teachers don't have to be looking at a 5-line paragraph or something like that, like I said. So this is your assignment right now. I'm going to ask you to look at all your IEPs in SACE. You got time. You got time. We got school closures right now. Use the template or make up your own to create a master caseload document that is just specifically for you. In this document, you'll list a chart of every student's name, their eligibility, their accommodations and modifications, goals, services, and deadlines. Don't worry, I'll wait. Most important thing is to prep. And this is probably what you will probably do at the beginning of the new school year is when you're reviewing new IEPs, is reviewing all those kids' IEPs so you know those kids. All right, so you can pause the video now and start looking at your IEPs and then resume the video when you are done playing around with the template. And I'll keep going to the next step. Okay, now the next step, you make a copy of so the next step is you make a document for every single teacher with information only about their students that is on your program. So it's like Oprah, you get a share sheet, you get a share sheet. It's best to put the name of the gen ed teacher and then the word share sheet. So you know that, okay, this is Mrs. Maskus's share sheet versus Mrs. Krabappel's share sheet versus Miss Frizzle's share sheet. And it's going to create and you're going to create a bunch of docs. And then, of course, you share those documents with those teachers themselves. Share the document by clicking that blue button in the upper right of the screen that says share. You type the teacher's email, you share the document, and then you let the teacher know it's in their Google Drive. So here's an example of a share sheet that's actually a student that I use. And then, of course, for me, I have like a cute little introduction to explain to the kids, congratulations, you've got one of my students. And of course, it's confidential. And here's the basic information that you need. And if you have any questions, I'm here to talk to you. And of course, there's some fine-tuning at the bottom of the confidentiality, but you can see that it's got the name, it's got the kid's disability, the accommodations, services, goals, and the due date. And remember, the share sheet only features the kids that you share with that particular gen ed teacher. So some of the share sheets might only have one student. Some of them might have 4. Some of them might have 15. Also, if you've got a teacher who's co-teaching with another teacher, you make one share sheet and share it to both of the gen ed teachers who are co-teaching together. Less is more. But the key is keep it simple and individualize it for the teachers as well. And of course, some of you guys, like the program specialists, will be like, what about confidentiality, which is part of our jobs as well. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is never, ever, ever share these documents with your students' parents. This is not for them. This is for you and that gen ed teacher to communicate back and forth about the kid, maybe about their parents, things like that. But this document is not for them. Also, if you're sharing a document that's got more than one student, then you don't want to breach confidentiality by sharing all the other kids who are in that class as well. Yes, but you should definitely share these with your principal, service providers, and program specialists. Another thing that my program specialists have greatly advised when they review these share sheets, thanks Angelina, is only put information that you're okay with seeing again in due process. So be nice and focus on actions, not adjectives. Not the kid is dumb. You can put the kid can't read, or the kid is reading at the first grade level, or Johnny is achieving math problems at 0% accuracy. Because of course, these documents could be asked for in a due process hearing. And the other important thing, and I'll go to this in the next slide, is you can change the security permissions of who gets to see the document. So you want to make this specifically for the gen ed teachers. And this is how you do it. When you click that blue share button, there is an advanced options button. It's a little tiny one below who you want to share the documents with, and that will allow you to maintain the confidentiality. And there's multiple options. You can share it publicly on the web. Don't do that. No, no, no. Anyone with a link, this is a maybe, but no, still don't do that. But there's also these two great options where you just share it specifically with people who are at Alvord Unified. So you can share it on Alvord Unified, so basic. So these are the two that you definitely want to go for. Is someone, especially this one. This is the anyone with Alvord Unified School District with the link, because later on, they can, it's very later on, you are going to get to make a cool link. And that's actually the cool part about these, is each of these will have a link that the teachers can access. And when you're done sharing them, you are going to email your teachers, and you're going to print copies of them for your boxes too. So this is a good example that I would have done in, of course, Microsoft Outlook, where I say, "Dear Ms. Krabappel, when you're able to, please check out my share sheet on the resource students in your class. Here's a link of the document for you to look at in your own convenience." And then you copy and paste the link of the document you've created. Please let me know if there's anything I can do to help. But you also can leave print out a copy of it in Ms. Krabappel's box. Make sure you have good paper. And remember, it's going to print out landscape. It's going to print out wide, but that's good because it's going to be easy to read and easy for that teacher to have it in their binder, to have it in their sub binder. So if they have a substitute teacher, it can be in their subfolder and things like that. So now comes the fun part. Virtual collaboration is allowing the teachers to be flexible in when they communicate with you. So when you have these documents and the kids aren't in your classroom, you can highlight the name of the student, and then on the left side of a Google Doc, you can actually insert a comment. And you can ask for a comment like, "Hi, Miss K, how's Bart in your class? His IEP is due soon." Then you hit that add button and then type the name specifically Unified. You will need to put in the teacher's Google email, which is the .net, because what it will do is it will send that teacher an email to go, "Hey, Mr. Tan sent an email to you. Can you go and update the Google file?" And then some teachers, they'll go in and directly update it. And some teachers, they just like responding with a nice little comment. So here, Mrs. Krabappel is saying, "He's crazy. Can you please help me with his behavior support plan?" And I'll be like, "Sure." And in my advanced version of the slides, I'll show you how to upload a behavior support plan into the doc itself. But as another special ed teacher has told me, the most important thing is to do face-to-face or Zoom check-ins too. So, you could, when this is all over with and you're having you're getting coffee in the break lounge, you can, face-to-face time is still important. So you can check in with the teachers and say, "Hey, have you seen my Google Doc?" Or, "Hey, did you get the little piece of paper that I left you in your teacher box?" And then a lot of teachers who I've talked with at McAuliffe said, "Yeah, that document was really, really simple, and it made it so easy for me to understand. And it wasn't like a 15-page document," which is great. Now, not only is that awesome, but you can make share sheets for all of your different service providers for your students. You can make a share sheet for your speech therapist, your occupational therapist, your adapted PE teacher, your vision specialist, your deaf specialist. Each one gets their own share sheet. Oh, and your school psychologists who are testing kids. You can make a share sheet for the testing coordinator and enlist those accommodations that the testing has. Another one that I really like, and on some of my teachers back in the middle school days really liked, is you can create a share sheet for the transition teams where you make a document specifically with your fifth graders or your eighth graders, and you share it to their future resource teachers so that resource teacher is ready for that transition meeting. But that's why this is important with virtual collaboration. It is a document that you update. What's great about Google Docs is you can change the documents anytime and any time of the day. So supposedly you finished having an IEP meeting for Bart Simpson. You update your Google Doc with the new information, the new goals, the new services. And then you open your Gen Ed teacher's Google Doc, you copy and paste that information. Copy and paste that information into their Google Doc. And then you can also copy and paste the information in the service provider's Google Docs as well. And that's going to make it really easy and then of course you send an email to the teachers and you let them know, hey, your Google Doc's been updated. That way you're not interfering with their teaching. You're not going into their classrooms. You're letting them look at the stuff at their own time, their own flexibility when their kids are gone. And that's what I like about doing these Google Docs is they give Gen Ed teachers flexibility and they make them feel comfortable because that's what we're here for. They've got so much to worry about. So the last thing they want to worry about is you. If you have any questions for me, my name is Aldrich Tan, and I'm a resource specialist at McAuliffe Elementary School, and that's my Google email, and I check it regularly. And remember, we are all in this together. Thank you for listening to my TED Talk.